A plea has been filed in the Supreme Court seeking quashing of a notification of the Central Board of Secondary Education for conducting the remaining exams of Class 12 from July 1st to July 15 amid the increase of the number of COVID-19 cases across the country. Also, parents of students of ICSE board are launching a social media campaign for cancellation of ICSE exams in the middle of this pandemic.
No ICSE board for my brother. If he gets coronavirus, everyone gets coronavirus.
Cancel ICSE boards. Lives matter. Exams don't.
Our children's life and health is more important than the exams at the time being. So I don't think we should make any hasty decisions to have the exams passed. Haste makes waste.
Cancel Class 10 ICSE exams and save lives. Students' lives matter.
Cancel ICSE Class 10 examinations. Students' lives matter.
So is it safe to send our children to give exams? Is there a risk of exposure? For more on this, I am joined by Dr. Ruchi Seth. She's Principal, Lotus Valley International School in Noida. Also joining me is Radhika Kalra Singh. She is a parent of ICSE student who's studying in grade 11. Joining me also is Colonel Amit Bhatla. He's a parent of a 12th class student of CBSE board. Thank you very much for joining us. Beginning with you, principals. Ma'am, first and foremost, we all know that the parents are worried, but what about the schools? Would you like the exams to go ahead, or would you prefer that they get deferred?
Well, if you take my opinion, I think this is a very worrying situation for schools. And I know a lot of principal colleagues who are extremely anxious about the fact that sending the children to school, taking care of them in the school, we don't know anything about this pandemic. We don't know anything about this virus, actually. So how do you fight an unknown enemy? And from what we've been hearing about the reports, more recent reports is that people have been saying, and this is coming from patients in hospitals, that we have taken utmost precautions and yet we have come down and our whole family has come down with the COVID virus. How do you then make sure that every protocol that you follow, even then, if some child falls ill, how do you make sure that it's not through the sources in the school? Right. And it's not just the school. A child is not a number, not a statistic.
Right.
You know, a child's life is precious.
They're the most vulnerable, very there's no doubt about that. I'll also bring in Radhika here. Radhika, but as a parent, aren't you a little worried about the children lagging behind in terms of studies and then also evaluation?
Well, look, let's start with this. Let's borrow the perspective of all the parents. I'm here to represent everybody who has collectively yesterday, in a matter of hours, put together a voice which speaks for everybody. Are we more worried today? When we look back in time, and this whole predicament is over, and everything is fine, you believe that the children are not going to question us to ask if there was a chance of us getting, if there are they not going to judge our decision? We need to have a way in which we can teach our children how to operate out of trust. This is the right time and place to do that. Are we more worried about evaluation at this point of time, or are we ready to teach them the life skills that we are as a system, the community, internationally, trying to put together to teach our children? So parents are not really worried about evaluation as much. In fact, children have prepared very little for their boards. If those were the exams, right, those were the grades that were supposed to be evaluated. And children are ready because they are worried and they understand. They have a rational voice in their head.
Right. Colonel Bhatla, all the boards and the governments are assuring parents that all measures will be taken, safety measures will be taken. Do you feel this is not enough to allay your fears?
Ma'am, good morning, and thank you NDTV for covering this very important aspect for all of us. Just a couple of issues, ma'am. Firstly, it's an extreme health emergency. Look at the projected figures for July. There are asymptomatic cases, and this could be another super spreader in the making. And we have to understand that there are government schools and schools in rural areas also. Some of these have been used as quarantine centers. This year, the CBSE has now, for this pandemic, increased the number of centers from 3,000 to 15,000 centers. Look at the cost and the manpower involved in this. The entire state administration in every state in the country would be tied down to conduct this exam. The expenditure to conduct a normal exam is 500 crores. And if this decision is taken timely, all this activity of sanitization and the entire logistic exercise, this wasteful expenditure can be avoided. And ma'am, you will agree, most recent decisions by the Honorable Tamil Nadu and the Telangana High Court, they asked a very simple question. Will the board give a guarantee? Will the board take accountability that not a single child will be infected, or God forbid somebody loses his life? And based on this, the exams were cancelled in both these states. Can we have two separate yardsticks? There are contamination zones. The schools lying in these, there are children who are staying in contamination zones. Social distancing is actually impossible to achieve. Children have to travel. There are exam center basic procedures that have to be done. Also, ma'am, has any official sat in a 45-degree plus temperature with a 3-layered mask, tense of not touching the desk, sat through and is expected to perform in an exam which in India is possibly the most important exam for his life? There is exam fatigue, there is tension, there is anxiety. These are young children.
Right,
Colonel
Butler, I'm a little short on time, but just before I wrap up this conversation, Dr. Seth, a very short reply from you. Conducting these exams, if they do happen, if the government, if the boards are adamant about it, what kind of a challenge would it be for schools?
So the main challenge is making sure that the students are maintaining social distancing throughout. It's not just while they're sitting for the exam, as they're coming in. Some of them will, after the exam, before the exam, go to the washroom, go to drink water. They'll meet their friends after a very long time, perhaps. And the natural tendency for young people is to gravitate towards their friends. Maybe, it's going to be very difficult. The other thing, of course, is we don't know how to sanitize the place. Somebody was mentioning yesterday that you need different chemicals for the floor, for the furniture, for fabric material and all that. So how do we ensure, even if we follow every protocol that the government advises us, how do we make sure that it doesn't happen in the school that any child gets the virus?
Well,
there are healthy carriers, for example. How do we know asymptomatic children? And then there may also be symptomatic children who take medicine and come because they don't want to get left behind.
Yes, Dr. Seth, absolutely, your concerns are valid, and so are the concerns of the parents over here. Thank you very much for joining in this conversation. So, is it safe? Can we send our children to give these exams? It doesn't seem so. The parents are not ready, nor are the schools.